Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Bar President-Elect Virtual Candidate Forum. My name is Eric Tarosky. I am an attorney here in the DC office of Kirkland and Ellis, and also a member of the DC Bar's Early Career Lawyers community. It's my pleasure this evening to serve as the moderator for tonight's event. Joining me, of course, via Zoom are the two candidates to the Bar President's office. We have Amy Bess and Josh Mogil. In just a moment, I'll ask the candidates to introduce themselves to you. But first, I would just like to review a few housekeeping items for this evening's event. First of all, tonight's event is being recorded and will be available via the Bar's YouTube channel and other channels in the coming days for anyone who would like to watch again or who couldn't join us live this evening. Additionally, tonight's event has live captioning available through Zoom. The chat feature on Zoom, you will note, is disabled, but there is a Q&A feature, which I will discuss in just a moment. Tonight's event will primarily consist of questions that were submitted by registrants during the registration process and which were selected by members of the Bar's staff. As a reminder, the Bar does not endorse any candidate for the office of president or any other office. In addition to the questions that were submitted during registration, you may submit questions via the Q&A feature in Zoom at any point. As a reminder, this is not a chat feature. The submissions through the Q&A portal will only be seen by the staff of the Bar, who will be filtering through them. I would ask that you please keep any questions brief, and because of time constraints, we ask that any questions you submit be structured so that they may be posed to both of our candidates. With that, I am going to turn it over to our candidates for their opening statements. So we are going to begin in alphabetical order. So Amy, you will be up first. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statements, and then we will move into the Q&A portion of this evening's event. So with that, Amy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amy Bess, a labor and employment attorney and managing shareholder at Vedder, and I'm honored to be a candidate for president-elect of the DC Bar. Before I was a lawyer, I was a social worker on the west side of Chicago. That experience, listening deeply, navigating difficult systems, and helping people find their way through hard problems in life has never left me. I'm still a social worker at heart, and it's that instinct, that compassion that drives everything I do as a lawyer, a leader, and a bar member. I've been a member of this bar for nearly 4 decades. I've served 2 terms on the DC Bar's Board of Governors. I've chaired its pro bono committee. I co-chaired its strategic planning committee, and since 2022, I've served as the DC Bar's appointee and now as chair of the DC Commission on Judicial Disabilities and Tenure, a body whose entire mission is to maintain public confidence in an independent and impartial judiciary. I've also spent more than 20 years managing large law firm offices, leading teams of lawyers, paralegals, and staff, stewarding budgets, and building the kind of institutions that actually serve the people. My platform rests on 2 pillars. First, mentorship, not just giving young lawyers a seat at the table, but expanding the table itself. The current president of the bar, Sedina Montani, is living proof of what mentorship can produce, and I could not be more proud to have served as one of her mentors. Second, judicial independence. In my role on the commission, I've seen firsthand how vital an independent judiciary is to the integrity of our legal system. Judges must be able to decide cases without concern that their decisions could threaten the very safety or well-being of themselves or their loved ones. The bar has an important voice in strengthening public confidence in our courts, and if elected, I will ensure that the bar uses its powerful voice to support our hardworking judges. I'm running because of the gratitude I have for this bar and because I want every lawyer who becomes a member to have the same experience that I have been fortunate enough to have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Josh, you are up next, 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Eric, and hi, Amy. I'm Josh Mogil. I'm honored to speak with you tonight about an organization I care about deeply, the DC Bar. Before I do that, I want to share a bit about my background. I'm a proud Washingtonian of 20 years who loves this city with all my heart. I currently practice at WilmerHale, and I'm an adjunct professor at Georgetown Law. Before that, I worked at two places that instilled in me a deep reverence for the rule of law: USAID and the Department of Justice, where I served under 3 administrations. I proudly identify as what our current bar president, Sedina Montani, has lovingly referred to as a bar nerd. I'm on the bar's current treasurer. I'm on the bar's board of governors. I'm on the bar's executive committee, budget committee, investment committee, development committee, voluntary bar leadership group. And no, the list does not stop there. I'm also the treasurer and board director of the DC Bar Pro Bono Center. Before that, I was president of the DC LGBTQ plus bar. So as you can see, I am committed to the future of this organization, and I have experience working at nearly every facet of it. Like my mentor, Diane Seltzer, did last year, I stand before you to raise the alarm about the attacks on the rule of law. These are not normal times. We must stand up for our bar as we face worsening attacks on our city, our judges, and on the right of lawyers to take cases free from retaliation. My vision is grounded in action. First, empower the bar to defend our profession. 2, support our heroic government and public interest attorneys who are hurting but standing firm on the front lines of democracy. And 3, expand our pro bono clinics to meet today's urgent access to justice crises, such as helping our immigrants face down ICE. If we could reimagine the DC Bar to meet this moment as a central hub for dedicated action and joyful community building, I know we can face these challenges head on and together. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to tonight's debate.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. With that, we will now move into our first Q&A session. So these, again, were questions that were submitted to us during the registration process. If you have questions for the candidates as we are going, please do submit those in the Q&A feature via Zoom, and we will do our best to field those questions at the end of this evening's discussion. So we will begin with Josh, since Amy went first for opening statements. So Josh, the first question is for you, and again, you'll have 2 minutes to answer. My first question for you is, what are your plans to improve and expand access to justice?
In the past, candidates for this position have described themselves as running to be president of the DC Bar, but actually all candidates are running to be president of the DC Bar and president of the DC Bar Pro Bono Center. In these times where access to justice's gap is so great and the risk to funding and services are so high, I'm saying I'm running to be the reverse. I am running to be the president of the DC Bar Pro Bono Center, who happens to be president of the DC Bar. This work is more important than ever. Our Pro Bono Center provides more than 20,000 individuals, nonprofits, and small businesses with free legal help every year. But we're seeing incredibly difficult cuts from the mayor's budget. The mayor's past fiscal year 27 budget would reduce our access to justice budget from 31 million to 4.4 million, which is an 86% reduction. As the current DC Bar treasurer, I've been working closely to close that gap. But it's not just the mayor's budget. We have 124,000 members that we need to put to work on this gap. We can raise our pro bono honor pledge from 100 hours to 200 hours to encourage all of our lawyers to keep giving back to the community. We can work with our legal services providers and help them close their gaps as well and figure out where we can partner with them. We can bolster our AI services, such as My DC Lawyer Referral and DC Refers, to help people find affordable lawyers through our AI tools. And we can encourage people to get more involved with their ongoing matters. And I just last year alone, our funding supported 44,000 residents. We just need to keep fighting, and that's why I'm running to be president of the DC Bar Pro Bono Center.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. Amy, the same question to you. What are your plans to improve and expand access to justice?
Pro bono legal services are a professional obligation for us all. It's an obligation that I have taken seriously throughout my entire career. Currently, I have probably 15 or 20 pro bono clients for which I provide employment law services for free. And for every year of my practice, which has spanned over 35 years, I've billed probably more than 150 hours every single year to pro bono. Pro bono is an absolute vital commitment of my professional life. And as the bar's president-elect, I would use the bar's powerful voice to expand opportunities for all of our members to commit to providing pro bono legal services in our community in an effort to expand access to justice. I had the opportunity and the privilege 2 weeks ago to testify on behalf of an organization that I am passionately involved in, the DC Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and I sit on the board of that organization. And I testified on behalf of that organization before the city council to try to raise our voices to address the concerns that Josh was just mentioning about the mayor's budget crisis that has been created in our city. So I would use my opportunity and my voice as the president or president-elect to raise additional funds for access to justice, which is a critical, really crisis level in the city. And then as I mentioned about my mentorship platform, I think there are incredible opportunities for senior members of our bar who are facing the years prior to retirement, who still have enormous opportunities and desire to give back to our bar and to our community, to pair those senior members up with junior members through pro bono opportunities, to share wisdom, to share experience, to share skills that really invest our youngest, our new generation of lawyers to commit themselves to a lifetime of service in pro bono.
All right, thank you very much. And Amy, I should mention, go in alternating order. So since you went second on my last question, I'll ask you to go first on this question, which picks right up where we left off. You both just discussed in part of your answer your commitment and vision for pro bono service in our bar. So my next question for both of you, again, Amy, beginning with you, is what types of pro bono opportunities would you expand during your time as president?
The types of service the types of needs in our city are so vast, it's really hard to narrow it down to a short list. A passion of mine is the area of domestic violence survivors and supporting domestic violence survivors. I had the privilege of serving as the president of the Women's Bar Association Foundation and serving as its grants chair for a number of years. And a big part of our grants program raised money and gave grants to organizations that provided legal services to women and girls in our community. Domestic violence was a huge issue that we addressed, dating violence. So expanding opportunities for lawyers in our community to provide legal services to survivors of domestic violence and dating violence is a high priority. And there's so much more that can be done in that area. Additionally, immigration issues are a crisis in our community, and that topic is one that requires a deep amount of training and mentorship, and that is an area that I feel also very, very strongly about, and there is an urgent need in that area. Housing is another area that is at a crisis level in our community, and so I would focus on those three topics and areas of pro bono legal services.
Thank you. Josh, same question to you. What types of pro bono opportunities would you expand if you were elected president of the bar?
Well, on Saturdays, you can find me at the DC Bar's Advice and Referral Clinic. On many Tuesdays, you can find me at the DC Bar's Landlord Tenant Clinic. On many Friday mornings, you can find me with Volunteer Legal Advocates Domestic Violence Clinic. Those are three that I'm passionately involved with, but our DC Bar Pro Bono Center and our legal service providers have incredible opportunities. I'm specifically focused on immigration. The DC Bar has a quarterly immigration clinic. The line is normally not just down the block, it's down multiple blocks. We've had a really hard time with this clinic because we are worried that ICE will show up and start arresting the people that come to the DC Bar for help. So we've had to make it virtual in some aspects and in person for some of the lawyers. We have to expand our immigration clinic to be filling the gap for any immigrant who is scared of ICE or in need of help. We have to be there for them for free. That is the crisis and where everyone should be devoting their resources. But I encourage anyone who's never done pro bono with the DC Bar to go to dcbar.org/pro-bono. It's a page I bookmark regularly. You can sign up for any of the clinics that Amy and I discussed. But also, I've spoken to the mayor and city council chair Mendelson and our chief judge Blacksburn Rigsby about the areas they are passionate that we get involved in. And they're looking for more people to do appeals in our local courts. So if you're interested in doing appeals, please let us know. We'll put you to work. And again, I've talked about wanting to raise the pro bono pledge. I know a lot of people watching are members of it. We have 124,000 members and we're facing a crisis of access to justice. Please, please, please sign up for pro bono. We'll give you all the tools you need to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. My next question, which Josh, again, we'll start with you on this one. You both obviously just spoke in a good bit about your commitment to pro bono and your vision for how you'd expand that as president of the bar. I'd like to broaden that a little bit and ask you to tell us about one concrete goal that you would have, if elected, to accomplish during your presidency, outside of course, the commitment to pro bono you both just discussed. Josh, the floor is yours.
That's a great question. I want to make our bar more inclusive. As an out and proud gay lawyer, I've spent my career focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as president of the LGBTQ plus bar, I know that our profession can only thrive when we have equal justice for all. For the past few years, our profession has been facing a crisis of being scared to say the phrase diversity, equity, and inclusion. But our bar was formed in 1972 because the women's bar and the African American bar and all of the other bars worked really hard to create a system that didn't exclude people because of the color of their skin or who they loved. I want the bar to relaunch its DEIA committee. I want us to say that these pipelines are important. I want us to support our voluntary bars. I am so proud that I've been endorsed by 11 voluntary bars because I believe and they know that we're stronger when we work together. I think that it's important that we get our law firms and our companies back on page with this topic, and that we recognize how important it's been for our profession to lift people up and to create pipelines for opportunity. And the work's only beginning. So yeah, I would like to do that.
Thank you. Amy, same question for you. If elected, what's one concrete goal that you would aim to accomplish during your term as bar president?
I mentioned the concept of judicial independence in my opening remarks. I attended the Flannery Lecture Series this year in February at the District Court, and had the honor and privilege of hearing Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Jackson speak at that lecture that evening. And one of the questions that they were asked was, what can we do about attacks on our judges? And they both said, in violent agreement, they both said that the bar has a voice, and it is a loud voice, and it is a powerful voice. And what I would like to do as bar president is to convene one or more sessions, listening sessions, speaking sessions that literally talk about opposing views that are critical in our community, that really support and nurture and raise up the opportunity to expand and to understand the hardworking judges that are in our community, and to really focus on why it's important that we have judicial independence, why it's a key pillar of our democracy and the rule of law, and that judges have to be able to reach their decisions without fear or favor and without any concern that their decisions are going to result in actual violence or threats or concerns for their own well-being or that of their family. And so by raising the bar's voice and really promoting judicial independence, I think we are enhancing our democracy and the rule of law. And that's what I would love to accomplish as bar president.
Thank you. My next question, both of you obviously have significant resumes in terms of your history and engagement with our Bar Association. Amy, starting with you, can you tell us about one thing you've done during your engagement with the bar of which you are the most proud?
So I have served, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, on the Board of Governors for 2 elected terms. I chaired the co-chaired the Strategic Planning Committee that year, which was the strategic plan that rolled out the John Payton Leadership Foundation in the first instance. And I served as the chair of our pro bono committee. But I would say my proudest moment is not a position that I held or a committee that I chaired, but it's actually watching my mentee, Sedina Montani, step into the presidency of the bar and to do this remarkable job as our bar president in this past year. That is what mentorship looks like. It's what it looks like when it works. And I believe very, very strongly that mentorship is a two-way street, and that mentors grow and learn and develop just as much as the mentee does in that relationship. And so mentorship is an incredibly important part of my leadership approach. It's been a huge part of my career, and I could not be prouder of our bar president, Sedina.
Thank you, Josh. The same question to you. Tell us about your proudest accomplishment from your time involved with the DC Bar to date.
Sure. I spoke a little bit about my love for the voluntary bars, and this year we hosted the Voluntary Bar Leadership Academy, where we brought all of the leaders of all of the various bars in DC together to talk about some of the challenges our legal community faces, because the DC Bar shouldn't have all the answers. We should be talking to the legal service providers. We should be talking to the groups on the ground. We should be talking to the public interest bar. Particularly this year, we focused with those groups on helping the government and public interest attorneys who are hurting, given all of the governmental chaos. We focus on enhancing the career assistance program, lawyer assistance program, ethics hotlines, everything these people need in these hard times to stay in their jobs and stand their ground and ensure that they are executing their oaths to the Constitution and not to an individual, because we're the rule of law, not the rule of man. But yeah, I'm passionate about that work, and I'm grateful to have that support of all voluntary bars. I believe I'm putting forward the platform that they agreed. And like Diane Seltzer did last year, I think I built one of the widest coalitions of endorsers from those voluntary bars because of they've seen me in action doing that project of this voluntary bar leadership group. I'm proud of those 11 affinity bars endorsed by the Public Interest Bar, endorsed by the Washington Council of Lawyers, 36 legal service providers, the Consortium of Legal Service Providers, 10 former DC Bar presidents, and so many other community and civil rights leaders. I've been working to bring them all together in forums like the Voluntary Bar Leadership Group. And if elected, I want to bring even more people together, because I shouldn't have the answers, but I should be the convener that does.
Thank you. Josh, next for you as well. How do you think the DC Bar should support its members facing professional transitions?
Sure. I think I just answered that question a bit by describing some of the opportunities we have, like lawyer assistance resources, ethics resources. But given this time of a lot of people being riffed from government, I was in government and watched many of my colleagues pushed out just for their beliefs or just because they worked on a specific investigation targeting the president. I think the bar has done a great job helping with resume workshops and job placement, but we need to be doing more. We need to be sitting down with them and finding how we can help them, where we can connect the dots to help them introduce them to our legal service providers who are desperate for help, or help with job resources or training opportunities. We should be lowering their license fees. If you've lost your job or you're suffering in these times, the bar should not be charging you a license fee. The bar should not be charging you a CLE fee if you want to increase your skill sets. So for those people hurting right now, we have much more to do, and I want to hear from them specifically. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Amy, how do you think the bar should support its members facing professional transitions?
The first thing I would do, and Josh mentioned this as well, is direct members immediately to the bar's Career Assistance Center and the Lawyers Assistance Program. And I would also, I think the bar can serve as an important convening place for job fairs, for opportunities for networking among displaced government lawyers, public interest attorneys, others in our community who have lost their jobs or have been displaced due to funding cuts and other other impacts that have been the result of decisions made by this administration. I think that there are endless opportunities for senior members of the bar to partner with those groups that are trying to assist those displaced bar members in finding opportunities. And it's really just about connecting our bar members to one another to find those opportunities. So I think there's an endless stream of opportunities that we can pull together because we are an amazingly powerful network and community who really wants to help each other. The bar's job is to put those people together, to be a convening place for those displaced bar members to connect up with those bar members who have job opportunities and who are looking for really talented, really skilled employees and lawyers. So I think we have a lot of room to pull those relationships and opportunities together for our members.
Thank you, Amy. My next question is, and Amy, again, will be with you. What would you do to increase engagement among members who are not currently active in bar programming or the bar's communities?
One of the things that I mentioned at the outset is that as a social worker, I developed listening skills, and I believe listening is one of the most powerful tools that any lawyer can bring to bear in terms of understanding their clients, understanding the legal needs, and really exploring and strategizing really powerful creative solutions to legal problems. So the first thing I would do is try to understand through listening sessions why people are not engaged. What is it that what are their needs that are not being met currently by our bar? Our bar has a vast array of resources and an impressive list of programming and opportunities for just about every possible sort of bar members need that you could imagine. But if we're not meeting certain needs, we first have to understand what those needs are so that we can figure out how to fill those gaps. So the first thing I would do is hold some listening sessions to really get to the bottom of that concern, and then to begin to marshal together the resources and the people who are best positioned to address those gaps in our service offerings or in our programming.
Thank you, Amy. Josh, what would you do to increase engagement among bar members who are not currently active in the bar's programming or in its communities?
I will say I go to many bar events because, again, I'm a bar nerd. I'm often one of the youngest people there, which is crazy because half our bar members are under 40, like me. And so we should just help reimagine the bar for the next generation. We have a beautiful new building that Amy was on the board and helped get us, and it sits empty most of the time. I have a lot of friends joining member clubs around DC or going out. We have a club. The hottest club in town is called the DC Bar. We often have an open bar at our events. We have Justice Sotomayor speaking there. Amy and I were there for that. Amy and I go to everything together there. It is fun. You should come. But to answer the question, we need to provide more member services. We need to make the people want to get engaged with a bar. These bar associations in the past were these old stuffy organizations no one would be caught dead near. We have a really cool bar for you, and it's called the DC Bar. We host programs, educational opportunities. We just need to get the word out and find what members want and then provide that to them. If they want to learn about AI, we will get the coolest AI clients up there on a panel and we will do it. So I think it's all about finding out from our members how to serve them. And that's called servant leadership. And I'm not here to lead people. I'm here to help them. And so my goal is to find out what people want and then provide it. And that is member services. People pay a lot of money to be a member of the DC Bar, and we have to deliver what they want. And that means getting everyone, not just the retired people that come to events, but everyone else. And so the DC Bar has to be fun. We have an amazing new building. And the job of the president, as I was when I was the LGBTQ plus bar president, is part cheerleader and rallying the troops to come to things and make people excited. We have 124,000 members. We could have the biggest party in town.
You heard it here first, DC. DC's hottest club is the DC Bar Association building. I didn't expect that to be said tonight. Thank you, Josh. And Josh, the next question will be for you as well. How can the bar better support work-life balance and sustainable legal careers for its members?
That's a wonderful question. I think the bar can help define the profession for the next generation. And I know it's a cringe subject to bring it up every time there's a question, but I think AI has a role to play in this. I think AI is going to change how we all work. And it's an opportunity the bar is thinking about deeply. We just had Chief Judge Blacksburn-Rigsby and Chief Judge Lee in to talk to us about how they want AI in the court more because it's going to help legal service providers and some of their back-end functions and for legal research and for some of the small firms and legal services providers that can't afford it. The bar is playing a role in thinking about how we can help. And so the bar also thinks about wellness regularly. We have groups that get together and think about how not just AI is changing our profession, but how lawyers are often struggling with incredible demands and hours and clients. We're all type A, hardworking people that want to be zealous advocates for our clients, but that often means at the expense of living our lives and being healthy. And so the DC Bar has committees thinking about this, but we need more people more regularly thinking about this. We're a profession with incredible burnout. I don't have the answers. I couldn't begin to have the answers because I'm one of the people that does way too much because I care about, like all of you here tonight, are giving up time to watch this. So I don't know what we'll do, but we just have to convene the right people and help keep pushing us to be better and be healthier. We just had a Lawyers Have Heart. Here's my Lawyers Have Heart DC Bar bracelet. We just ran this past weekend. We had the second largest team. I know Diane Seltzer, our president's on this call. She lapped me a few times around the track. We just have to think about ways that we could do healthy activities together too that have nothing to do with the law. So in addition to being a club, we're also an exercise group.
One of the things that I think is really critical to this discussion is that we engage with legal employers in our community on what they can do to improve the quality of life and the work-life balance for their lawyers. And that means large law firms who historically have required that their lawyers bill in excess at least of 2,000 hours a year, and most of them are billing in the 2,300 hours per year. And I know as a law firm employer, as the managing partner of my law firm, that our younger lawyers that we're recruiting to join us don't want to work that way. They have lives outside of the practice of law. They're climbing mountains on the weekend. They're rescuing dogs, they're volunteering, they're doing amazing things in their free time. And that's really, really vital to them. They have a very strong commitment to work-life balance. The problem is that our legal employers have not recognized that is absolutely critical to being able to recruit and retain the next generation of lawyers. And so what we need to do is to convene the legal employers to really brainstorm opportunities and creative solutions to this very real problem. Because Josh is right, we have a serious burnout problem in our profession. We have a mental health and a substance abuse problem in our profession. And while the bar has amazing resources for tackling and addressing some of those real important crises in our lawyers, we also need to start looking at this problem organically at the front end when we're recruiting lawyers from law school that absolutely want to have work-life balance. So how can we, as a profession, sort of instill that in our institutions? And that really is going to require the legal employers to join us in that dialogue.
Thank you, Amy. The next question, I imagine you both anticipated, given that it's a hot topic these days, and for good reason. Amy, starting with you, how should the DC Bar respond to the growing use of artificial intelligence in the legal practice?
So it's a reality that we have to face. And the most important thing that we can do is educate all of us on the tools, the resources, the incredible opportunity that AI brings to the table. But we also have to be very, very thoughtful and mindful about the risks of AI. Specifically, when it comes to the legal profession, we have to be incredibly thoughtful and mindful about the attorney-client privilege issues, confidentiality issues, the issue of of all of our attorneys and members of our bar committing themselves and actually following through on their ethical obligations as officers of the court, not to submit information or case law or legal arguments to the court that are not founded in truth and actual evidence. And so there are enormous opportunities with AI, but there also are enormous risks. And so educating our bar members regarding both the opportunities and those risks is, I think, a critical obligation and an opportunity that we as a bar have.
Thank you, Amy. Josh, for you next, how should the DC Bar respond to the growing use of artificial intelligence in the legal practice?
We can't stop it. As the Chief Judge Blackstone Rigsby said, it is here. We are stuck with it. So I have a Justice You Can Practice agenda. It's a year-long program dedicated to providing our members with some in-person program, AI training, free CLEs, enhanced member services for those that can't afford the use of AI because they're not at a firm, and expanding our pro bono offerings, all focused on how we can learn to do this together. I don't like to use AI. I know half the people down the hallway love it. It's just a mix. And I think no matter what, we all have to get more comfortable with it to ensure that all lawyers have the tools they need. We have a lot of fights ahead of us. The rule of law is under attack. So I think that while there's opportunities and there's a lot of peril with AI, I think it's an opportunity to make us stronger lawyers. The chief judge wants it. She's an amazing hero in our DC legal community, and we have to take our cues from her. If she thinks that we all need to get on board, I think it's time. I think it's time that we realize that we need to level the playing field to ensure that anyone who wants this tool can have it. Of course, the DC Bar has its own separate disciplinary places, and you should be using AI appropriately within your ethical obligations. But I talk to legal service providers that will say, AI can help us. We have 20 people working on intake for a week. AI could do that in 5 minutes. It would free us up to actually help clients. Or I hear people that say, I just don't have AI. I can't afford it. I'm a solo practitioner. The DC Bar is actually working to get licensed for those types of people. Again, I use AI mostly for like making funny photos, even funnier. Like most of us, or putting cat faces on my siblings, swapping in cat faces for my siblings. But, I think it's an opportunity. And if I'm elected, I will embrace it and run for it.
Thank you. Earlier, I asked about a concrete goal that each of you would have if elected. This next question is similar but different, as we like to say. So, Josh, beginning with you. What do you see as the most important role of the office, if you will, of the DC Bar president? And how would you define success in that role?
I think the most important job of being the DC Bar president is standing up for our community, especially in these challenging times. The bar has to function without fear or favor to a government that and I'm not afraid of any challenges to our mandatory bar. Since our bar was founded, lawyers, including women, African Americans, fought for our right to practice, and they didn't stop there. Through them and through the DC Bar, we fought for civil rights and end to state-sponsored exclusionary systems. And in joyful partnership, the DC Bar leaders have kind of paved the way. But the forces of a bygone era are attempting to take away the gains we have fought so hard for: voting rights, civil rights, even the right to practice free from government retaliation. The bar must continue to do its regular and important work, and the DC Bar president needs to bring everyone together in that fight. We're only going to be able to protect our bar by working together and doing what we do best: fairly and regularly administering justice in DC. And so I think the DC Bar presidency also has to transform. It's not about just leading a quiet bar of 124,000 people. It's standing up against a government that is attacking our profession and should not be afraid to stand up to the government in doing so. I am not afraid to get sued. I can think of 124,000 lawyers who would defend the bar in a second. I will say that there was a lawsuit filed last week, not against the DC Bar specifically, but in the press release, the acting attorney general said, as our complaint and history make clear, the DC Bar has acted in a blatantly partisan arm of leftist causes, no more. And he said, thank God I'm not a member, and trust me, I never will be. Well, as a proud DOJ alumni, I find any attack against our officials, any lawsuit against them, to be unacceptable, and I will unequivocally stand up for our bar, defend us in court, and take on anyone who will attack our role in administering our profession. It is unacceptable, and the DC Bar president needs to say so.
Thank you, Josh. Amy, the same question to you. What do you see as the most important role of the DC Bar president, and how would you define success in that role?
The DC Bar is a very, very large organization. As Josh mentioned, we have close to 124,000 members. We have a $50 million budget. We have 150 staff members. We own our own building. The leadership of the bar needs to be steady, strong. It cannot be cowed by political pressure or by pressure from voices like the ones that Josh was just mentioning. What we need is leadership that is willing to stand up for our bar members and to speak out for judicial independence, for our democracy, for the rule of law. We also have a little bit of a challenge in the fact that we are a mandatory bar, and so we are governed by the Supreme Court's Keller decision in terms of the manner and the topics on which we can speak out as a mandatory bar. And so it's really important that our bar is led by a steady hand, by a thoughtful hand that will be pulling together the smartest, the brightest, and the most thoughtful legal minds, which, thank goodness, we actually have on the staff of the DC Bar to guide us in ensuring that as a mandatory bar, we are speaking out appropriately and thoughtfully within the confines of our legal mandates, again, as a mandatory bar. And so that is something that I feel very strongly about, but I will not be cowed by political pressure in terms of ensuring that the bar speaks out on matters that it has a right to speak out on.
Thank you. You both have touched, I think, on themes related to my next question, but for Amy, you first. How would you, as the DC Bar president, promote civility and professionalism in an increasingly polarized environment?
I would try to lead by example, first and foremost. I have been in leadership roles my entire legal career, which has spanned multiple decades. I have never been a leader that pounds the table or raises my voice louder than anyone else in the room in order to have my position heard. My approach to leadership is to listen first and foremost, to engage stakeholders who are actually going to be affected by and impacted by the decisions that I will ultimately be charged with making. I want to hear from them and understand completely all of the aspects of their concerns and their interests in the ultimate outcome. And so leading by example is probably the most important thing I can say. I believe in listening to our stakeholders. I believe in convening groups of people, of like I said, legal employers, of young bar members who are potentially looking for needs and gaps to be filled that we aren't currently meeting. So leading with compassion, with civility, myself, with a focus on listening and collaboration. Those are the things that I would try to bring to this leadership role and to instill in others in the way that I convene and lead and collaborate.
Thank you. Josh, how would you promote civility and professionalism in an increasingly polarized environment as the DC Bar president?
Well, if you thought my bar reference before was a surprise, it might surprise you to find out I'm actually a triplet. So there are three of me. And so I grew up with two siblings who are both watching tonight. And I had to learn civility because I was kind of, when you throw three people together, you have to quickly learn. Anyone with many siblings probably feels the same. But I'll tell you how I'll do it. I've been doing it all year. I've been your elected treasurer. I've been on the board. I'm a current leader of the bar, getting to work every day with President-elect Diane Seltzer and President Sedina Montani. I've been mentored by past bar presidents, Ellen Jakovic, Sean Snyder, Charles Lowry, and Jamie Gorelick. I've been endorsed by 10 more. I've a wide variety of people from all backgrounds because that's who I am. I like to hide in the back and do the work, but bring people together and get the best ideas together. I'm joyful about this work. I think that's the lesson of the civil rights movement and the Stonewall movement is we could be angry at all of the things happening around us, but we have to be joyful in fighting for what we believe in. And I think that I would work to convene those people. I've discussed already, a very wide coalition of a wide range of groups because I think I can accomplish that from DOJ leaders like Sally Yates to law school deans to voluntary bar associations to 36 public service, 36 legal service organizations, and tons of civil rights leaders along the way. I think they know, and I believe that if we work together and we just keep a calm, warm, hardworking, can-do attitude, we can accomplish anything. Where there's 124,000 of us, I'd like to see anyone get in our way. We are the DC Bar.
Thank you, Josh. On that, we're going to transition to some of the questions we've received during today's programming. We've done our best to edit for concision a few of them so that we have the chance to get to more of them. So some of them may be paraphrased slightly. Josh, we will begin with you as we've been doing and then alternate again. For these questions, you each will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond. So Josh, the first question for you. The bar's communities include 23 separate groups representing more than 15,000 members. How would you support their ability to address issues and develop programming relevant to their communities?
If you were shocked by me being a triplet, now you're going to be shocked that I'm a member of every single DC bar community. In my free time, I somehow fit it in. I am so proud of our communities. We have communities ranging from the early career lawyers community, which Eric, our moderator, is one of the leaders of. And look at him now. He is moderating this thing for 2 years in a row and is a future leader of the DC Bar. He will have my vote. I promise you that. I think that our communities, from early career lawyers to tax communities to DC affair communities, they're each amazing, thoughtful groups based on topic areas or interest areas. They come together for wonderful convenings. A lot of them have an open bar, which I discussed before, but it's really important that we support them. I want more of their events to be free. I want more membership to feel able to join them. And so I will be spending bulk of my energy working with our communities office and working with our community leaders on how we can do that. Something that I'm going to do different from past bar presidents. The heads of all of our various communities will be invited to every one of my board meetings. I want to hear from you, Eric, every month about how I can help you, because the DC Bar is strongest when all of our members are nerding out and learning about the areas they're so excited to keep learning on, and it will be the bar's president to foster that community. And so, Eric, I hope to see you once a month.
Thank you, Josh. Amy, I'll pose the same question to you with the clarification that I have no say in the outcome of this. So gratuitous compliments notwithstanding. But Amy, the same question. The bar's communities include 23 separate groups representing more than 15,000 members. How would you support their ability to address issues and develop programming relevant to their communities?
Our communities are absolutely critical for our bar members. They provide unbelievably important legal skills development. They provide mentoring opportunities and networking opportunities, as well as just community fellowship. So I would do everything in my power to support the flourishing and the advancement of our communities. The first thing I would do is try to visit every single one of their meetings to hear from them about what they need and what the bar can do better for them. And that is absolutely the critical first step in pretty much every major decision that I would like to make. And I think it's going to be different for each of the 23 groups in terms of what they could benefit from in terms of bar support. One potential opportunity would simply be to get the communities together. There's a whole lot of cross-pollination that could happen by the bar convening opportunities for some of these communities to have joint programming and work together. And to the extent that that's an opportunity that would provide some value to some of our communities, I would be absolutely strongly in favor of that. So the first thing I would do is ask them, what can the bar do better for you, and how can it make you as a community more successful? So that would be my goal.
Thank you. And we'll move now to what will likely be our last question for you both, given the time. And Amy, again, we will start this one with you. What role, if any, should the DC Bar play in issues related to DC self-governance and representation?
It's a great question. I think like I said before, the bar has as a mandatory bar has some limitations in terms of what it can speak on. It can speak on matters that are germane to the legal profession. It can speak on matters that are nonpartisan and non-political. Self-governance in the District of Columbia is one of those hybrid issues that has become very politicized, and is while it's something that all of us DC Bar residents hold incredibly near and dear to our hearts, and it's something I feel incredibly passionate about personally. I'm not honestly 100% certain that the DC Bar has a loud voice on that topic. I would rely upon our bar leadership and our resources, including our general counsel, to really talk through those issues. The mandatory bar status is there's lots of gray areas, and I have to confess that it's something that I feel I have way more to learn about. I've read the Keller decision multiple times, but there's just a whole lot of nuance to that decision in terms of its actual application in real life. So I would say that I will be a student of that issue, and I will take advice from all of our incredibly thoughtful and smart advisors on that subject.
Thank you, Amy. Josh, same question. What role, if any, should the bar play in issues related to DC self-governance and representation?
Let me be clear. The bar should play the leading role in this fight. I keep a copy of the Keller decision on my desk. I keep a copy of the DC Bar bylaws on my desk. I am the DC Bar treasurer this year. I am on the executive committee of the DC Bar. I know firsthand that when our city comes under attack and they go after the lawyers, we need someone to stand up for the whole profession. We are allowed to speak on issues germane to the profession and the functioning and administration of justice here. When this administration goes after our independent attorney general, when this administration sues in court our chief judge, as they did last week, when this administration tells our law firms or our lawyers, you can take cases or you can't take cases, that is unacceptable. That would be unacceptable in any other state. The DC Bar has to stand up for the fair administration of justice. That means being boring lawyers who govern the profession. The DC Bar president must lead in that area and shouldn't do it alone. I've discussed the wide coalition I've built. I think the reason they've endorsed me is because they are looking for someone to bring them together and stand up in this fight. If elected, that will be me.
Thank you, Josh. That will conclude our question and answer portion of this evening's programming as we're reaching the top of the hour. So now I will turn the floor back over to you each in turn for a 2-minute closing statement to share any last thoughts with our audience. Josh, since you went second during the opening statements, we'll begin with you. 2 minutes.
It was so wonderful to spend this evening with you all. I hope you had some popcorn. I hope you had some wine. I hope you saved some for me. No matter who's elected, I'm looking forward to a strong partnership with Amy, and she'd be invited to contribute to any bar committee because our bar is greater for her service. I've said that in every room she's been in. I am so glad I've gotten to know her through this process. She's become one of my favorite people. If you'd like to learn more about me and my platform, please check out my agenda at joshmogil.com. I have a whole detailed agenda. I hope we didn't get into much of it today, but I'd love to hear from you as well. I'm going to end with a promise. If elected, I will work tirelessly and energetically for you because I believe deeply that the antidote to all the awfulness around us are good lawyers empowered and standing up together. The DC bar is at an inflection point where we need to step up in the fight for the rule of law. I'm running because I know I can be a strong, dedicated, joyful, unifying DC bar president. With my years of experience on the DC bar as it stands today, its operations and functions, and a vision for how much more it can do, I'm ready to help bring us into the future. And not just me. We have fabulous candidates running for so many positions. I urge you to read their platforms on the voting site. You will be as dazzled as I am about their exciting ideas to bring us into the future. And I would love to say that my law school classmate and dear friend, John Hopkins Gillespie, is one of those candidates. In conclusion, I believe we can meet this moment, empower our members, and be the best lawyers we can be. We're going to do that together with unity and courage and joy. But I can't do this alone. Everyone on the call today, I'm humbly asking for your vote, and not just your vote, your help in the year ahead. I need you to call me and tell me your ideas. I'm not the one that's supposed to have them all. I'm just supposed to be the convener that brings us all together. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you, Eric, for being a fabulous moderator. I can't wait to vote for you when you run for DC Bar President. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Josh. Amy, the last word is yours for your closing statement, 2 minutes.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to everyone who cares enough about this profession and this bar to participate in important conversations like this one. You know, when I first became a lawyer decades ago, I could not possibly have imagined the career, the friendships, and the opportunities that this bar would give me. And I certainly could not have imagined that one day I would have the privilege of running to help lead it. But one thing I did know, even back then, was that the legal profession is ultimately about people. As I shared earlier this evening, before I was a lawyer, I was a social worker. And although I eventually traded in my social work files for deposition binders, I never lost the belief that leadership begins with listening. That belief has guided me through decades of practice, through managing law firm offices, serving on nonprofit boards, mentoring young lawyers, representing hundreds of pro bono clients in my career, serving on the Board of Governors, and now chairing the DC Commission on Judicial Disabilities and Tenure. The DC Bar is one of the most vibrant, diverse, and important legal communities in this country, and possibly even in the world. It deserves leadership that is experienced, collaborative, steady, and deeply committed to all of its members. I'm running not to change the soul of this bar, but to strengthen it, to build on the extraordinary work already being done by our current president and her predecessors, to invest in the next generation of lawyers, to support our voluntary bars, to protect the integrity of our legal profession, and to make sure every member feels seen, heard, and connected to this community. At this stage of my career, I'm running not for a title. My voice does not need to be the loudest in the room. I'm running because I love this bar. I believe in its mission, and I believe I have the experience, the judgment, and the heart to lead it well. I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And that brings us within the last minute of this evening's program. So first, I would like to begin by thanking both of our candidates for a wonderful conversation this evening that I very much enjoyed being a part of. And I wish you both the best of luck in the election. Speaking of the election, a few points of order for our audience, who, again, I must thank as well for joining us here this evening. First of all, there is a QR code on the slide that everyone should be able to view through Zoom. If you scan that, it will link you to the website on the bar's webpage where you may learn more about the candidates and their platforms. We were limited in time tonight, and we appreciate everyone submitting questions, but obviously could not get through all of them. So if your question wasn't answered or you have questions for the candidates, please go to the website and learn more there. Next is our deadline to vote. You may vote right now if you haven't already. Voting is open through June the 3rd. Everybody, I believe, should have received an email with a link to vote. I know I have. And additionally, there is a link on the bar's website that will route you to the appropriate place to cast your ballot. And with that, it is 7 o'clock. I will wrap us up by again thanking both of our candidates, and thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure. Josh, Amy, again, thank you for your time and wishing you both the best of luck. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
See you at the DC bar.